The 20th century found the UBA poised on the brink of a great era of growth and expansion as its members faced the challenges and uncertainty the century would bring. Nature would throw the first curveball in the fall of 1900 when a massive hurricane struck the booming metropolis of Galveston. The disaster caused between 6,000 and 12,000 deaths and washed away most of the city's structures, including 20 UBA churches. But the collective effort of the nation and other UBA congregations helped meet the needs of those who survived the nation's deadliest storm. The new century also brought with it a change in social tides. Women had collectively organized to perform vital ministries since the earliest days of Baptist life, and the 20th century saw an expansion of this calling. The Texas Women's Missionary Union started in 1880, and UBA organized its own auxiliary in 1904. The women of the WMU were to be a crucial component of fundraisers and workers supporting two collective UBA efforts on the horizon, the Star of Hope Mission and the Baptist Sanitarium. As the population grew in the city, it became evident that the humanitarian needs had to be met. In 1907, Reverend Dennis R. Pavoto paved the way and received a charter for the Baptist Sanitarium, the first Baptist healthcare institution in Texas. It would eventually become Memorial Hospital. That same year, Pavoto also helped establish the first refuge for Houston's lost community of men, the Star of Hope Mission. Several years later, the Women's Missionary Union started a home for women in the workforce and their children, called the Baptist Industrial Home. The spotlight of physical needs intensified through the Great War and recovery years as Houston's population doubled in the 1920s. An enduring collective effort birthed the mission centers of Houston under the original name, the Mexican Goodwill Center, during that same period. But the successes of the 20s soon faded into the Depression of the 30s and the nationalistic efforts of the 40s. Churches, along with society at large, viewed the war as one for survival, and collective efforts in every sphere of life took on new energies. Manufacturing, petroleum, and war material industries brought Houston an influx of business and people. With more churches being planted, desires for more localized networking and training increased and materialized in the form of 4 new associations along each border of Harris County during the 1950s. This increase also mandated forward thinking and led to the creation of the Union Baptist Foundation. The foundation sought out and secured real estate properties for future church growth. And over 4 decades, the foundation was an instrumental part of church planting across Houston. With the continuing expansion of the city, it became apparent that Houston needed a Baptist college, an idea first conceived in 1921 and then tabled for various reasons throughout the decades. UBA leadership resurrected the idea in the early 50s, and it became an all-encompassing effort for the association staff until 1963. That fall, Dr. William Hinton welcomed the first freshman class of 193 students to Houston Baptist College. 10 years later, the college officially became Houston Baptist University. The coming decade welcomed a long overdue correction to the institutionalized segregation of the era, when in 1970 the Fourth Missionary Baptist Church and New Bethel Baptist Church were admitted into the association. It was the first time since before the Civil War that predominantly African American churches were granted membership in the association. Today, 1/3 of all UBA churches are predominantly African American, 1/3 are predominantly Anglo, and the remaining third are Hispanic, Asian, and African. The mid-70s revealed a need for biblically based, clinically competent counseling, and UBA answered with the Center for Counseling. At its apex, the center employed 20 therapists and saw over 10,000 clients annually. Dr. Tom Billings served as director for the Center for Counseling prior to joining the executive staff of UBA. UBA's vibrant camping ministry, which had existed since the 1950s, also saw growth during the 70s and 80s. A generation of ministry happened on the grounds of Peach Creek Baptist Assembly, which was eventually sold in favor of a much larger location north of Huntsville. Today, Trinity Pines has emerged from a rapid but unstable start to become a first-rate camp and conference center hosting more than 20,000 people a year. This is due in no small part to the leadership of Phil Springer, who became camp director in 2001. Over the course of this period, UBA started a number of ministries, and things were going well. But UBA still appeared to be a very traditional association. All that was set to change as the end of the 20th century drew near.